Fails in baby gender reveals. You've all seen this kind of gender reveal that's very typical among parents who love soccer and they just have to kick it. Well, apparently this man was too eager to find out his baby's gender and kicked the ball too hard. Now they'll need to visit the neighbor to ask if it's a boy or girl. This little girl was in charge of popping the balloon to find out the gender of her brother or sister. But the girl didn't understand what to do. Instead of popping the balloon, she cut the string and it flew away. It was obvious that this man was very nervous and kept moving the cannon that contained the powder. But of course, with so much movement, he revealed the gender too early. Poor things, look at their faces. This man had a similar experience but with the little ball. It wasn't closed properly, so he learned too soon he was having a boy. People who almost didn't make it. This is totally unbelievable. A man is riding his motorcycle down the road and suddenly this happens. Two motorcycles coming from the opposite direction and going way too fast passed just inches away from crashing into him. A man was out for a ride in his kayak like every weekend and completely unexpectedly a crocodile appears at high speed and crashes into the kayak, flipping it over and throwing him into the water. The guy was left completely defenseless in the water where the terrifying animal was. Fortunately, he quickly regained composure and nothing happened to him. A man had a really bad idea to make a video swimming under a layer of ice. But after swimming for a while, he got disoriented and couldn't find the place where he had to get out. After being under the water for more than a minute, completely frozen and practically out of strength, he found the hole. This is where the typical phrase, "Why didn't the person recording do anything?" comes in perfectly. The parents of these children don't know whether to laugh or cry. This boy was live streaming without his parents knowing anything. And the people in the chat started telling him to put the phone in the microwave and turn it on. And what do you think the boy did? Well, he listened to the people in the chat. Goodbye, phone. A mother received a video from her young daughter's teacher, and when she saw it, she almost had a heart attack. The teacher shows her what the girl brought in her backpack to school. Books, notebooks, a pencil case, and also a small cat. Suddenly, a man noticed that his television was broken. He decided to check the security cameras to see what had happened. He never imagined his son was trying to change the channel by hitting it with a broom. His children were very quiet, and this seemed quite strange to him, so he went to see what they were doing and found this. The kids were having a feast of dog food, and judging by their faces, it looks like they really like it. The most foolish ways people have died. A 16-year-old teenager named Alex DeSalis was walking with a friend when another friend showed up driving her Jeep. The girl stopped to talk to them. When the car started moving again, Alex got on the hood as a joke and started twerking, but he ended up falling off the hood, hitting his head on the ground and getting run over by the car, becoming trapped underneath. A 57-year-old Chinese woman named Mei Lan and her 25-year-old son named Jin Hao. The boy was accompanying his girlfriend so she could relieve herself in a cesspit, and the girl dropped her new iPhone into the pit. Her husband jumped in to retrieve the phone, but the excrement was so overwhelming he couldn't breathe and passed out. His mother tried to save him but also lost consciousness. Both of them lost their lives trapped there before anyone could help them. Photos that capture the endless power of time. In a forest, an abandoned car has been there so long that a tree grew and lifted it with its branches. Nature always takes back what's hers. A leaf was trapped in a water fountain for decades and eventually became transparent, as if shaped by water and time. In an old cafe, the walls bear dark stains where customers once sat. Years of smoke, coffee, and talk left ghostly shadows from the past. A Scooby-Doo mug shows how time spares no one. Not even cartoon characters. Shaggy's hair has changed color over the years, turning gray. A tree grew so much beside a warning sign that it absorbed it. A century ago, someone lost their wallet. These are the remains. Basically, only the coins and a piece of the wallet itself are left. The worst ways people have lost their lives. John Edwards Jones, a young man of 26 years old. John decided to explore a cave with his brother and some other friends. During the exploration, the man got stuck in an extremely narrow passage. When John tried to go through the tunnel, he got stuck head down about 30 meters from the entrance of the cave. The rescue teams arrived quickly, but his uncomfortable and dangerous position prevented them from getting him out. In a nursing home in Loomis, California, a caregiver picked wild mushrooms from the garden to make a soup. Tragically, the mushrooms were poisonous and caused the death of 3 people, including the caregiver. The mushrooms contained amatoxins that destroy the liver. At a Travis Scott concert, when a countdown showed on screen, the crowd surged forward, increasing pressure on the barrier. People trapped at the front couldn't breathe or move. 8 lost their lives from being crushed, and dozens more were injured in the chaos. The parents of these children aren't sure whether to laugh or cry. One girl tried to wake her parents so they'd take her to school. First, she tried with her mother, but there was no way. She kept sleeping. Then with her father, who didn't react either, so she looked for a quick solution. She tool a pot, put it on her father's head, and this girl had been given everything for Christmas, a bunch of toys, lots of clothes, but what made her happiest was this, a jar of ranch sauce. While she was taking her daughter to school, she noticed something strange in her backpack. There was something inside that was moving. A little scared, the mother opened it to see what was inside and found this surprise, a cat. And the cat didn't belong to the family. Where could the girl have stolen it from? A girl was pretending to iron her father's shirt, but the iron was unplugged. And since he was on his phone, he didn't notice that her little sister came and plugged in the iron. Fails in baby gender reveals. The huge excitement she felt when she found out her baby was going to be a girl. He forgot that his wife was pregnant and jumped on her. I'm not sure if something like that is good for the baby. I'm sure my baby's gender reveal will be different, because if you mess up like this guy, you look really bad in front of everyone. This reveal was going to be really original. He was going to run and dunk, and the moment the ball hit the ground, everyone would know the baby's gender. But he should have done it on a day when it hadn't rained. Without a doubt, this is the most awkward gender reveal I've ever seen. It turns out the baby they're expecting is going to be a girl. And then his husband's mother quickly goes to hug him and doesn't let the couple enjoy the moment. You just have to look at the guys and the girls' faces to know how awkward that moment was. The parents of these kids don't know whether to laugh or cry. This girl is imitating everything the main character in the movie does. If the main character dances, she dances. If the main character hangs from her hands, she does it too. But she didn't do it correctly since she tried hanging from the television. What this girl manages to do in just a second makes no sense. What you're seeing is a shelf full of Lego buildings, and the girl grabbed the shelf and everything fell to the floor. Putting it all back together is going to be literally impossible. It was this girl's first trip on a plane, and she brought this suction cup toy to play with, which stuck to the window. And this happened. Either the window was really badly installed or the girl has super strength. A father and son watch a soccer match, but their team gets scored on. While the father laments, the boy celebrates, but once he realizes it's the rival team's goal, he laments too. The worst ways people have lost their lives, part 44. Damon Perry, 23 years old. One afternoon, he was hanging out with his roommate, Christopher Paquin, and the two were drinking while watching the series The Walking Dead. For some reason, I don't know, Perry thought his roommate had turned into a zombie and tried to bite him to turn him as well. He attacked him with punches and kicks, then struck him with an electric guitar and a microwave, killing him. Then he ran out and started chasing more neighbors who he thought were also zombies. Mateus Moore, a 16-year-old teenager, was on his way to a store with his girlfriend named Michaela Friend. They were walking through a risky area, the train tracks. They didn't realize the train was behind them, and though the engineer sounded the horn, it was too late. Matthias saved his girlfriend by pushing her but lost his life. The worst design mistakes in history. This gun-shaped dog leash is one of the worst ideas I've ever seen in my life. The first thing is that anyone would feel bad pointing a gun at their dog even if it's fake, and the second thing is that when people see you on the street, they're going to look at you a little weird. Or there might even be some people who run away. The person who came up with this terrible idea should be in prison. He hung up some mannequins that look like lifeless children's bodies. If I saw this in a store, there's no way I'd go in. This is the least secure security door in the world, since it's perfectly shaped for thieves to climb it like a ladder. This looks like an ordinary shirt, but when you look closely, you see that the drawings are flies getting it on. Imagine that one day, absent-mindedly, you open this door and fall. That height is enough to hurt you a bit. Glitches in reality that prove we live in a simulation. One afternoon, a girl went to the pool and couldn't believe what she was seeing. On the other side of the pool, there was a woman whose face looked a lot like her mother's. She even had a very similar haircut, the same glasses, and to top it off, she was also wearing the same dress. And from the surprised look on her mother's face, we can see that she can't believe it either. Walking down the street, several people noticed that there was a cat in the middle and it looked like it was frozen. Several minutes went by and the cat didn't even move a whisker. But the most incredible part is that another cat came to check on his friend and froze as well when he got close. Without this recording, no one would have believed it. The smoke from the chimney of a house rises hundreds of meters in a perfect line in the sky. I wonder how high the smoke from that chimney actually reached. Fails in baby gender reveals. The father didn't know how to fire the cannon that contained the colored powder to find out if his baby was a boy or a girl. So after trying several times, he turned it around and managed to fire it, but it hit him right there. That had to hurt. When I see this kind of reveal, honestly, I feel really sorry. When he hits the ball and the powder comes out, instead of celebrating with his wife, he decides to celebrate with his friends. Yes, friends are very important, but in that moment, your partner should come first. This man crushed the ball that contained the powder as if it were a real basketball and revealed ahead of time that the baby was going to be a girl, ruining the surprise for everyone. I love these gender reveals with soccer balls because they never go well. The man is a little nervous and can't decide when to kick, and when he finally does, boom, straight into the camera. One in a million coincidences. This man had a date and had gone to the girl's house to pick her up. But when he rings the doorbell, just seconds before the woman opens the door, a bird poops on him. Showing up with bird poop on you on your first date probably doesn't make a very good impression. A car loses control because of the snow and ice and looks like it's going to crash into another car that's parked. But somehow the cars didn't crash and it ended up perfectly parked. There are two coincidences in this video. The two women are saved by a split second as the building collapses just seconds after they cross. And the other coincidence is that just as the building collapses, a fire truck appears. This girl wanted a piece of cake, and as you can see, the piece of cake also wanted to be eaten by the girl. Because when she opens the box, the piece goes straight to her spoon. The worst ways people have lost their lives. Stefan Wojtak, a 74-year-old man. He and his wife Lucy visited a Pennsylvania cemetery one morning to decorate his mother-in-law's tombstone for Easter. But while the man was kneeling, the woman went to place a cross on the tombstone and it fell on top of him. It weighed nearly 200 kilos and his wife couldn't lift it, so she called emergency services. But by the time they arrived, her husband had already died. Kenneka Jenkins, a 19-year-old girl. Her friends threw her a party in a hotel room because she had found a new job. They were drinking and talking when one of them noticed that Kenneka had disappeared from the room. From what could be seen on the security cameras, you can see the girl at 3:30 in the morning crossing the entire hotel until she reaches a kitchen that was half abandoned and she went into the walk-in freezer, losing her life to hypothermia. Videos with surprising endings. This man is in the stadium stands, possibly watching soccer, basketball, or hockey. But what I never would have imagined is that he was actually watching a boxing match between dinosaurs. A man is trying to get this spider out of his house carefully because he doesn't want to hurt it, and after a while of gently pushing it with a piece of paper, he finally manages to get it out. But the spider's freedom was short-lived because just a second later a lizard arrived and ate it. A girl asks this man for an autograph and hands him a notebook. The man was already used to this, so he signs it, and when he's about to give it back, he realizes it wasn't a normal notebook. It was a death note. This man angered his girlfriend so much she threw his phone, but it was all planned because he was about to propose. He kneels as if to show her the ring, but instead flips her off, making her even angrier. People who almost didn't make it. A woman was driving near the train tracks when suddenly another car hit her from behind, pushing her directly onto the tracks. She tried to reverse, but a safety barrier was blocking the way. With the train approaching quickly, her only option was to abandon the vehicle. Just a few seconds after she got out, the train hit her car, completely destroying it. But the important thing is that she was alive. During a parachute jump, a woman panicked because her parachute wouldn't open. As she spun uncontrollably in the air, the tension mounted. After a few dramatic seconds, her instructor managed to reach her and deployed the parachute, saving the woman's life. On a wooden bridge, a woman decided to impress her friend. She grabbed onto the edges of a gap in the structure to demonstrate her strength. However, her arms quickly tired and she ended up falling into the river below. Fortunately, she managed to swim back to the surface. But if she hadn't had enough strength, the story would have ended in a tragic way. These children's parents don't know whether to laugh or cry. This boy had to pick up all the tennis balls he had thrown around the house, but at this rate, he was never going to finish. He'd put one in the can, but when he reached for another, the first would fall out. And just like that, repeatedly for several minutes, the little one didn't even notice. A girl thought this was a statue of a man with a dog, so she kicked it. And when she realized the statue was moving, she got the fright of her life. He caught a giant frog in his backyard and had an incredible idea. He took it inside the house, went to his parents' room, and put it right on his mother's face while she was sleeping. And while his mother screamed in fright, the boy just burst out laughing. The boy was very scared and cried a lot, thinking he was in deep water and would drown. His mother even had to go and make him let go of the rope so he could see that there really wasn't any depth at all. Fails in baby gender reveals. This reveal is quite original since the man really likes going to the gym and decided to reveal his baby's gender by lifting weights. But look where all the powder goes. The poor girl gets her whole face covered. This is how you lose thousands of dollars in your baby's gender reveal. As you can see, everything's going well. The baby will be a girl. But watch the drone. It gets hit by a cannon and falls into the water, breaking apart. Let me tell you, those drones are expensive. I feel really sorry for the baby these two are expecting and it hasn't even been born yet. Because when they find out it's going to be a girl, neither of the parents reacts, not even a little bit happy. Some people prefer a boy or girl, but you should be happy. It's your child. Before using these cannons, please make sure they're pointing in the right direction, because if not, the same thing that happened to this poor girl will happen to you. The parents of these kids don't know whether to laugh or cry. This boy's parents thought it was a good idea to buy him really powerful firecrackers and let him set them off without any supervision. So the boy thought it would be a good idea to throw one of these firecrackers into a sewer. And the mess he made was incredible. Luckily, no one got hurt. She left her kids alone in the living room for a moment, and when she came back, she found this. In the fireplace, there were several remains of $100 bills that her kids had burned, and after asking them, she found out they had thrown about 10 bills into the fire. It was his father's birthday, and he wanted to celebrate it in an innocent way, with a confetti cannon, but he set it off in the wrong place and covered all the freshly made food with confetti. Now, who's going to eat that? This is what happens when you get too excited about your team's goal, but then instantly regret it. Fails in baby gender reveal parties. This is one of the worst reveals I've ever seen. The couple has to insert a cup into the cake since inside there's blue if it's a boy and pink if it's a girl. But when this man went to take out his cup, he broke it and cut himself. They had to rush to the hospital to treat his wound and couldn't find out their baby's gender. And this is one of the most aggressive reveals I've ever seen. The man was a boxer and wanted to burst the bag with the powder this way. But he couldn't do it and kept hitting the woman harder and harder. He could have even hurt her. That's why I always tell you that if you have to fire this kind of cannon, make sure it's in the right position. Because the poor grandma found out all too well that the baby is going to be a boy. This is what happens when you're holding your baby's gender reveal balloon, but you feel like sneezing. Will any of these soccer ball gender reveals ever go right? Pictures you have to look at twice to understand. Yeah, I got scared too when I saw this picture for the first time because I thought the dog was on fire, but don't worry, it's just dust. When I first saw this video, I nearly had a heart attack. I didn't understand why this girl got out of the car while she was driving and started dancing calmly on top of that. Then I realized that the car was stopped and what was moving was a train. A guy thought it was his lucky day and that he had found a soccer ball. But as he got closer, he realized it wasn't a ball, it was actually a cat. To be honest, I've spent about 15 minutes looking for where the screen is on this laptop. Yeah, okay, I got a little scared because I thought this puppy was inside the oven, but no, it was just the reflection on the glass. This man was so lucky! He ran into Bert from Sesame Street walking down the street. The worst ways animals have lost their lives. Zoe, this little 4-year-old dog, was playing with other dogs in the backyard. On a snowy day, the dog strayed from her companions and something terrible happened. An eagle saw her from the sky. The predator, hungry, swooped down at full speed and took her away. The owner saw it all and tried to chase her, but despite searching for hours and days, never found her. James Rogers, 72 years old, and his little dog Leia finished breakfast at a bar and got into their 2007 Corvette. But somehow one of the car battery cables came loose and they got trapped inside. Rogers couldn't call the police because he had left his phone in the restaurant. He tried to break the glass with his own hands, but it was impossible. A man eventually noticed they were trapped and called emergency services. But by the time firefighters arrived, it was too late. The man and the dog had lost their lives from the extreme heat. One in a million coincidences. A man who was sport fishing caught this fish and then released it back into the water. As you can see, it has a wound there. A month and a half later, he returned to fish at the same spot and caught the same fish. As you can see, there's the scar from the wound, which has already healed. He was driving on a very windy day when suddenly a tree fell on top of his car. But he was right in the middle of the two branches and absolutely nothing happened to him. A guy wanted to sink the last ball without looking and his friend switched its place so he would miss, but he didn't care. When luck is on your side, things like this happen. I can't believe a cone skates better than me, and it even lands the trick perfectly. A diver found a lost wedding ring that had fallen into the sea. It was around a fish's head. Now that they've found the ring, do you think they'll find the owner? The dumbest ways people have almost lost their lives. Bird Pichet, 24 years old, went to a concert of his favorite punk band, and the lead singer of the band wanted to stage dive into the crowd. He had done it several times before, and it had always gone well. But this time was different because he landed directly on Bird's head and unfortunately broke his neck. She was rushed to a hospital for emergency surgery and fortunately regained limb mobility. Ram Shahai, an Indian man, was taking a walk in the countryside when he felt a sharp pain in his stomach. So he went to a place where no one could see him and pulled down his pants, but suddenly a huge python grabbed him by the neck and started to suffocate him. The man screamed for help and luckily some people heard him, and after some terrible moments of distress they managed to free the man. Photos that show the infinite power of time. This church in Detroit hadn't been cleaned even once since it was built more than 134 years ago. The lifelong resident who took the photo thought the stone was black, but after cleaning it one day, he realized it wasn't. We men are the only ones who understand why there are only wear marks on the floor at the sides of the toilets, and in the center, the floor looks brand new. The wall in this guy's bedroom is worn out because his dog has been sleeping in the same spot for many years. This is the center seat of a movie theater, and from the wear and tear, we can see that everyone prefers to sit in the middle. They put a fence very close to a tree, but that didn't matter to it. The tree kept growing right through the fence. Some termites ate all the wood from this old colored pencil box and left only the inside. Fails in baby gender reveals. Imagine spending a good amount of money on your baby's gender reveal. You hire a plane and everything to reveal that your baby is going to be a girl. And then when the baby is born, you see that the reveal was wrong and it's a boy. This might be one of the most disastrous gender reveals I've seen in my entire life. First, they pull all the strings and the piñata doesn't break, but well, there's still one string left, they can pull it. But when they pull it, just a little piece of streamer comes out and ruins the whole surprise. Still, they decide to break the entire piñata, and when they pull, it falls down. I've never seen such a bad reaction from someone when they find out their child is going to be a boy. The man gets really angry, starts hitting everything, and even breaks some of the decorations. And this reaction from a woman when she finds out it's gonna be a girl, I don't know if it's worse, because when she sees the pink streamer, she immediately leaves, sits down, and starts crying. The parents of these kids don't know whether to laugh or cry. The mother asked her daughter if she could please clean the television because it was too dirty. And she said yes, grabbed a hose, and started spraying it with water. Without a doubt, the television is going to be very clean, but whether it will work again is another story. A little boy was eating his hamburger with his French fries. And instead of dipping the fries in the sauce and eating them, he decided to grab his toy bus, dip it in the sauce, and eat it. A boy saw how a man parked his amazing Porsche 911 and didn't lock it, so he took the opportunity to get in and saw that he had left the keys inside. He started it and crashed it in the front, and when he reversed, he crashed it again, and this time even harder. Is it the boy's fault for entering or the man's for leaving it open? This one really makes me laugh. He kicks the ball, a vase falls, and he breaks it. Rather than getting upset or blaming himself, he celebrates and goes, "People who survived the impossible." Truman Duncan, a 38-year-old man while working on a railroad, fell off the train. Unfortunately, he was dragged under the wheels. After being dragged for about 75 feet, the man looked for his phone to call 911. His words were, "I need help. I think I've been cut in half. Hurry up, ma'am. I'm about to pass out." Emergency services took 45 minutes, but they got the man out from under the train and saved his life. Allie Rednor, 6 years old. When she was getting off the school bus, the door closed too early and her backpack got stuck. For a while, the girl tried to run at the same speed as the bus, but when the vehicle went too fast, her legs gave out and she was dragged for 1,000 feet. The driver was unaware until another car pulled up and warned him. Luckily, after some time in the hospital, the girl fully recovered. Things that fit perfectly. I can't imagine how satisfying it must be for this person to see that their vacuum fits just under the furniture. If it were just a couple of centimeters bigger, it wouldn't fit. By pure chance, he found some gloves that seemed like they were made just for him since they have an opening that lines up perfectly with the tip of the knife in his tattoo. If this man were 1 centimeter taller, he couldn't walk down this subway corridor. How tall do you think he is? He photographed the London Eye through a boat window, and as you can see, the Ferris wheel circumference fits perfectly within the window. A man saw this at the supermarket and found it quite interesting. Photos of 2 rice packages from different brands fit together perfectly when placed side by side. If the tree hadn't had that curve, the car would have a big dent now. Do you think he parked like that on purpose, or was it just pure luck? Photos that need a second look to understand. I was briefly really scared. I thought the boy on the right had a knife around the neck of the boy on the left, but don't worry, it's not a knife, it's just the logo on his sweatshirt. It's a bit cruel that this made me laugh so much. I don't know why I thought this woman had a tattoo of some eyes on her shoulder, but it's not her shoulder, it's a bald man. Please, I need someone to explain this to me. How is this possible? Where is the trunk of the tree on the right? Yeah, I didn't understand anything here either. Why were there arms and legs of people but no bodies? Then I realized they were 2 girls holding a mirror. Come on, don't lie. You also thought for a moment that this bag was a cat. Believe it or not, this woman is 9 months pregnant with just 2 days until her baby arrives. The thing is, sometimes perspectives are very deceiving.